it's easiest to scale when you go into the syndication route with large apartments. You can raise money for bigger deals, and now you're getting the best property managers, the best lending terms, the best everything, right? The best legal attorneys, because there's just higher stakes. So this made the most sense to me.
Do you want to take ownership of your financial future? Have the freedom to do what you want, when you want, and with whom you want? Welcome to The Top, the Take Ownership Podcast, the ultimate destination for Black people who want to learn how to build wealth through multifamily investing. We believe that multifamily investing is one of the most powerful wealth building tools available to our community. Through our podcast, we demystify the world of real estate investing and show you how to use multifamily properties to create long-term passive income streams and build equity. Each episode features expert guests, real-world case studies, and practical tips tailored to Black investors. Whether you're just starting out in real estate investing or you're a seasoned pro, you'll find valuable insights and actionable advice that can help you achieve your financial goals. Join us on the Take Ownership Podcast and start taking ownership of your financial future today.
All right, welcome back, fam. It's been a while, but today we have a very special guest. Dr. Ozoude is with us to educate us. He's got a very good audience, physicians, and the overall theme is education, right? We want to demystify what we do, which is apartment investing. And I know there's a big group of people who, for the most part, you mentioned fix and flip, they're on it, right? You mentioned these, they're on it. Once you start talking about apartment investing, it's just like gone, right? So today, we're hoping to bring together just some good information to, keep everybody motivated. And if you have any questions, obviously, drop them, and we'll have some fun. So, Doc, I'm gonna just let you introduce yourself. Let us know, who you are, what you do. And then we'll jump into more questions after that.
Absolutely. Pleasure to be here. It's an honor. Thanks for the invitation to share my journey and connect with your community. I appreciate what you guys are doing. We had a kind of talk before this. We did a kind of like a discovery call, and I got to know you guys a little bit, and I'm really excited about what you guys are doing. So I'm George Ozoude. I'm a orthopedic surgeon, and I'm based out of Houston, Texas. I've been practicing orthopedic surgery here in Houston for the last 9 years. And I was actually born here and raised in New York City. So I call myself a New Yorker at heart, but Houston has been home for the last 10 years now. So I'm based out of here. I actually own my own practice for the last almost 2 years now. It's a direct pay surgical practice, which is kind of a new model. And before that, I was employed with the University of Texas here in Houston. And what's allowed me to kind of venture out on my own and start my own practice, which is kind of a scary task or endeavor, has been my ability to kind of generate some passive income and some wealth building strategies through real estate investing. So for the last 7 years, I've been investing in real estate. Since 2016, I made my first investment. Since then, I've made about 25 investments passively. DB mentioned kind of, different types of asset classes, and I considered them at some point, but settled in on multifamily syndications for the most part. And then over the last year and a half, as I kind of started my private practice, I've also gotten onto the active side of these syndications where I'm helping, as part of a team, a general partnership team, to find, source, acquire, manage, raise capital, and carry out business plans for large apartment buildings. And so that journey has been very, very interesting for the last, year and a half. And It's continuing to grow. I have my own syndication company now where we provide value to mainly physicians, folks who look like me, who have MDs, who are frustrated with, current medical environment and climate, a lot of friction and hurdles that we go through, and other healthcare providers too. I reach out to them and try to educate. So we have many different platforms that we try to reach out: social media, live in-person meeting events with my investor club, and online webinars every other week where we bring on guests and kind of like in this setting, just talk and share ideas and encourage conversation.
For sure. That was a lot to unpack.
Yeah.
But I actually want to start with, well, first of all, you're not the first in New York on this. It seems like we get everybody, it's a New Yorker to Houston transplant on here. So you're definitely in good company. So let me ask you, so before we even jump into the investment part, right? I want to actually just jump a little bit into your background. You mentioned that you're doing the model that you're doing, right, for your practice. Can you mention a little bit about that? Talk a little bit about that.
I love talking about this. It's a direct pay model, whereas the traditional medical model for the past 40 years, 50 years has been a insurance, employer sponsored insurance model. Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of friction within that system because it's not very transparent. It's led to a lot of challenges, both for providers, physicians, and patients, meaning it causes a lot of financial challenges. It causes a lot of barriers to actually, giving and delivering good quality care. And this is just due to the healthcare economics that we are not really trained in when we're in medical school and residency. And so when I realized that, as I dove into real estate, I kind of learned all about economics, including healthcare economics. I realized I wanted to do it differently. It really means a lot to me to have that MD behind my name. My father's an internal medicine doctor. My older brother, mentor, is a radiologist. My mom's a nurse practitioner. It runs in our family. Like, it's what we do. It's what I was born to do. And I do it well. I love doing it and helping people. But I didn't want to do it in the corporate way because that wasn't serving anyone who mattered in that setting. And so I started learning about the direct pay model. And this is actually how it used to be 60, 70 years ago. There were no insurance companies. This is just something that's evolved over time for many reasons that could be a historical lesson. But I was convinced, and based on some of the models that I had seen throughout the country, they're not popular, but they're growing. But I saw evidence of how a physician can go direct pay, contract directly with employers who are also overpaying for insurance premiums, and be able to provide uninhibited, uninterrupted, great quality care at a lower price. Not only, delivering good care, but not financially devastating their employees and patients and my patients. The stat is 65%, which is the number of personal bankruptcies in the US that are attributed to medical costs. This is insane.
Yeah.
And 75% of those, that number, have full insurance. They're fully insured. So it's not a whether you have insurance or not thing. People are getting devastated.
Yeah.
Insurance is not doing what it needs to be doing for the physician or for the patient, more importantly. So it's been mission driven, my journey into this direct pay model. I'm learning a lot because, like I said, I didn't, start off in the business world. Mm-hmm. So, now it's all about networking and establishing relationships, and trying to spread the word and market, right? And let people know I'm here and I'm here to help. So very, very interesting model. It's growing. And I'm excited to see where it goes in the next decade or so.
Excellent. This actually kind of hits close to home because my wife is also a nurse practitioner. She's been for a while. And, she actually herself she's also looking to transition as well. When she started her business, she knew that she didn't want to do the insurance because, like you mentioned, there's a lot of friction between, all right, who's paying me, the service I want to provide, like you said, lots and lots of friction there, right? So you find yourself in this position where it's like you want to provide this level of service, but that level of service isn't paid through, or you don't get the payment for it, right? But like you said, that model of actually being able to go direct to the employer, cutting off that so-called middleman, which really turns out to be not just one middleman, there's a whole bunch of people in it that has to,
A lot of
yeah,
people with their hand in
I
that
don't have to
pot.
be, yeah,
Yep.
you know
There's
exactly what's involved. Yeah.
some
So,
remarkable charts and stats out there, that show the rise of the administrative, personnel in the healthcare space, and it's like up and to the right. It's
mm,
remarkable.
yeah,
Whereas the rise in the number of physicians has been plateauing. We
yeah.
need more physicians. We don't need more administrators, but
Oh yeah.
that's not the case.
Yeah. For sure. I know, I don't know that you probably know the numbers better than me, but as far as even primary physicians go, that number is going down
Even
because
worse.
you got to
Yep.
imagine, and I hear this story all the time, right?
Yep.
Physician, you come out of school with God knows how much in debt, and
300,000, half a
right,
mil to,
yeah,
so.
it's tough. It's very tough. Yeah. Well,
Right.
listen,
So
man,
this
go ahead.
drives a lot of physicians. They understand,
Right.
this drives a lot of medical students into more lucrative specialties. So there's a lot to unpack, but
Yeah.
that's also a problem. Why are primary care physicians not, compensated at the same rate as, say, a cardiologist or a plastic surgeon? When the primary care doctor is what's really going to save the whole medical landscape called by preventative care. And this unfortunately drives most medical students away from primary care when we need more of them.
For
So
sure.
it's such a vicious cycle,
Yeah, for sure. All right. Jerome, I don't know if you had any questions about his doctor's past, but otherwise, I'm gonna jump into
Oh,
uh
but before,
yeah, yeah, for
because
sure.
right
Go
4 minutes in, I'm already kind of inspired
ahead.
because you just kind of seem to be a disruptor just off the cup. Um, so you in the medical field, you notice the nature of things, and you immediately drawn to, okay, how do I fix the problems? And then you in the real estate space, and then how can I support physicians in regards to how they invest? So where did that come from? At least that mindset to fix what's broken.
That's a great question. I contemplate that every now and then. I know for sure, my drive, my interest to just achieve and do well and help others, that comes from my family. Nigerian upbringing, both parents, they're both healthcare providers. So I think inherent in that, nature is to solve problems for people, to help people. And I think that translates just across the board for me. I kind of say I've gone from trying to solve my patients' musculoskeletal pain problems to trying to solve my fellow physicians and healthcare providers, career problems, quality of life, quality of career problems. And so it's almost in my mind kind of the same calling.
Yeah. It's really
Yeah.
interesting you say that because the more conversation I have with graduates, right? People that you would just consider, well, this person has a PhD, this person has an MD, this person has this. You think financially this should be good, right? Not just in terms of receiving money, but also in terms of managing money, starting business and those things. But what you really quickly come to find is you get none of that training.
Zero.
Right? There's no training on how to come out and, be an attorney, excuse me, not to be an attorney, but own your own business and, open your own law firm. It's fine if you want to go work for someone, right? But as far as just training someone in terms of what a business should be like, how you should start and all those things is just non-existent, right? And it's really, really tough when you come out, you do have that entrepreneurial spirit to, branch out on your own. You find that you are going to hit a lot of roadblocks, right?
Absolutely.
So,
Absolutely. But one promising thing is that we are in probably just the best information age that you can ever be in right now, and getting better, right? So the tools in order for us to self-educate and grow communities is like none other right now. Here we are, in different places right now talking about this. Who knows how many people this is going to reach?
right.
And so, that's a shining light. I'm just super just impressed about how much I've been able to learn just by getting on my phone and putting on some earbuds, you know? So it's pretty remarkable.
That's excellent. So let's jump a little bit into the investing side, because I know you do a few. So just first of all, the first question I have for you is why apartments?
Good question. So, and because I mentioned earlier on that I looked at single family homes. My very first investment, the very first time I wired over some cash to somebody else for an investment reason, was a venture capital, tech startup. And so I've considered different asset classes, stocks as well. What made sense to me and my personal tolerance level, risk tolerance, was real estate. It's slow moving. It's tried and true with the longest track record. And I feel like I can take time to understand it. It's not as much of an insider game because it's a tangible asset.
Mm-hmm.
The less tangible an asset is, the more likely it is to, or easier it is to get manipulated. And so to me, the stock market is kind of a rigged casino. Whereas, yes, there's challenges within real estate, but it's harder to manipulate. It's harder to kind of obfuscate, how that economic cycles work within real estate. So at the time when I started investing, I was still employed, with a very busy corporate practice, corporate medicine practice. So I needed something that, I didn't have to worry about if I'm in the middle of a long surgery, I'm not worried about like what some CEO said the night before that's causing the stock to just crash,
Right.
So, and honestly, that's what I would do. I would go in between cases, or after work or before work, and go check out real estate properties, go walk properties. And so I thought single family was going to be my journey, 2 homes a year, for 20 years, make a portfolio. Then I learned, all right, I'm actually still too busy to be a property manager for that size of a portfolio. And it's hard to actually get economies of scale and get a good property manager for that size. That's about maybe a 40 unit property or 40 home portfolio. It's hard to find good property man. You end up losing more money,
And that's even on the assumption that you'd be able to get them all within the area where your property manager would be able to. And sorry, they're going to be scattered, and then you may have to get different ones, right?
More than one. So you lose the economies of scale. And so what made more sense was apartment buildings. Now I had to decide, can I do apartment buildings by myself, or do I need help? And what made sense to me after diving into it is it's easiest to scale when you go into the syndication route with large apartments. You can raise money for bigger deals, and now you're getting the best property managers, the best lending terms, the best everything, right?
Mm-hmm.
The best legal attorneys, because there's just higher stakes. So this made the most sense to me. You can scale faster, especially with a comfortable salary that I was getting as a busy surgeon. It's easier to kind of jump into that. And then I noticed a lot of single family investors ended up going into syndications in multifamily. So I can kind of just leapfrog into that. That's what actually one investor told me, is like, look, you're already there. Just start doing syndications. That's where we're all going anyway. So that's where we're all aspiring to. So
yeah, I like that, because if you're busy, this is perfect for you. Right. If you do have the time and you are, you're not as busy, maybe you can jump into that single family. Maybe you can be that property manager for your 1, 2, 3, 10 properties that you have, right? Because you have the time. But if you're busy and you want to put your money to work, the syndication is a perfect model, right?
Yep, so absolutely. And there are not to say you can't make a great wealth, net worth and cash flow with your own single family portfolio. There are people that have definitely done that. It's just a matter of, your why, who you are, what your strengths are.
This it's going to be a long segue, but stick with me. My wife and I were watching a piece on slots, because she's fascinated with slots for some reason.
Like casino slots?
No, slot, SL, the animal, the very slow
sloths,
moving
like
slot.
okay.
Yeah, we were watching a piece on it, and the lady that was just kind of training them, not training them, but kind of preserving the breed, was saying how, well, they asked her, what did she learn from them? and she learned the importance of kind of slowing down, obviously, because slots are just slow, not moving fast. And that's one thing I learned from Dr. Ozoude when we and I really have to shout out your team for making this space happen for us. But the first thing you ask, like, can we jump on a call prior to see if it's a good fit? And that just kind of taught me to slow down, make sure that we vibing, and just listen to you talk. Real big on community and making sure the community is right, whether it be investing or in your practice. So I guess my question is, when do you know that it's not a good fit, particularly I guess in CRE, and making sure that you're on the same wavelength with other investors or GPs?
Honestly, there's many ways. I think you even named one of them. When you try to slow down and someone else wants to speed up,
Mhm.
you're just going to feel that delta, that difference in the energy, and then that gut feeling just doesn't feel quite right. You can tell by the language, by the ideas, their whys. I always like to understand what are the deeper whys. I usually ask 6 or 7 deep
Mhm.
layers of why when I'm talking to a potential investor. That way you really uncover what's important to them. And if they get frustrated with that many levels of questioning, that you can tell that they're probably moving a little too fast, and it's something I learned in surgery from mentors. It's like, if you want to be efficient, just slow down a little bit. If you try to go fast, you're gonna end up taking more time, you know.
Gotcha.
So it applies across many different aspects of life,
For sure.
Have you found that balance difficult? Because we all trying to scale, obviously, in our business, which means efficiency means sometimes speed. But how have you found that balance between slowing down and speeding up, or scaling, I should say?
Honestly, I like the idea of just taking your time, but then when the time is right, you execute. Have you ever heard kind of the best investors? They'll say no all year, but
Mhm.
1 or 2 deals that they understand, they know. It's very tactical or surgical, right?
Mhm.
Mm.
You don't kind of waste energy and waste time. And
Okay.
so they're usually turning down deals all year. And just maybe 1% of the time they say yes, but it's effective, it's impactful. So this efficiency, this idea, to me, that it just excites me, like to be that masterful, you know.
Right.
And I'm just the personality type that I try to, achieve that level of mastery and excellence in anything I try to do. So kind of that mindset excites me and allows me to adopt that type of approach.
Love it. Love it.
Gotcha. Let's dive a little bit into your business and so tell us what was the first property that you actually bought?
So as a general partner, when I switched over to the GP side, my partner and I, we bought a 13-unit multifamily in Kennewick, Washington.
Okay.
This was last May. And it was my first opportunity to kind of learn under, a very experienced, operator who's had 20, 30 years of development and management, and got to fly out to the property, assess it, walk it with the property manager, talk to my community and try to raise capital for it, follow up on calls. It's been very interesting. We're still in it right now, and we're ahead of schedule and under budget, which is 2 good things. And we're
I was
100%
going to say
occupancy. And this is a value add 2014 build.
okay.
So not
Oh,
too,
that's
that's,
brand
light
new.
value add, light value add.
Yeah.
So a great one to start with, nothing too crazy, right?
Mhm.
But obviously the economic climate right now is such that trying to sell this property where we've carried out this business plan is a challenge because the interest rates are so high. It's affecting the valuation and the ability for a seller to pay what we think is the value for the property.
Right.
So we have to adjust now. So it's already a learning case, not quite going fully as we planned, but we have contingencies, right? We making sure it cash flows. So it's been an interesting learning property so far.
Cool. How did you find this property?
So my colleague who I invested with is a friend who I got to know through my mentoring club. So I actually did seek out a community to not only educate, but to grow my network. I think those are the two biggest things you need when you're getting started. And for a long time, I resisted it, but I finally joined the Real Estate Guys. It's a community based in Dallas, and it attracted like-minded people. And I organically developed a relationship with this experienced operator, and he understood what my goals were, and we felt like we can help each other. So that's how I found that my partner, Shannon Robnett. How you doing?
Shout out. Let me follow up a question on that. I know when you first getting started, right? One of the difficult things is like what you said, right? So you want to learn. Yeah, obviously there's YouTube University, the podcasts like this out there, but sometimes, well, not sometimes, almost all of the time, there is no substitute, at least I feel, for having someone who can potentially hold your hand. Now, they don't have to hold your hand all the time, right? But a mentor you can go to when you have those little questions. So for someone who is getting started, one, would you recommend that path for them if they're able to, right? And then I guess the second question is, when would you not recommend that?
So what I would say, what I tell investors is that you can go a couple of different ways. I went the community community mentor route, meaning it's a mentoring club, 100+ people who I vetted. I took my time to make sure it was the right fit for me. And so you have different mix of people there, experienced people, you have folks who are newer, and we're all just growing and synergizing together. The other route is to directly get an individual mentor and just stick with that person for the first year, 2 years, however long it takes for you to kind of get comfortable and go out on your own. I think either one is fine. It just depends on your personality, your learning absorption style. If you can learn in a bigger setting without as much direct attention, or if you just want to deal with one person and that's the way you really absorb. You have to kind of determine that from yourself first before you kind of take that jump. Or it may have to mean trying one and seeing if it works out for you. And if it doesn't, try the other. I think those are really the main two ways. Obviously, there is a third way, is to do it all by yourself. Just like you said, YouTube University. I think there's, obviously probably some cases where people have done that. But I think you're going to make some more mistakes that you probably wouldn't otherwise, right?
Yeah.
Then if you have somebody to kind of help you out. And so I would say kind of look into all of these options, get information on it, take your time, and before you decide on trying one of them out. And if need be, try as many of them out until you find what's right for you.
And I know I already asked it, but one more follow-up on that follow-up. How, for someone else getting started, how would you vet? Because that's a really, really important piece that you've mentioned there. How would you vet either the person or the group or whoever?
There's almost nothing like being in person. You have to develop your radar. And the only way to do this is to continuously get in these spaces. So your local meetups, if you're in a smaller city that doesn't have one, you can start one. And you just need to get around people, even go to other meetings where you're just literally talking and just getting to know people, asking them questions, answering questions when they ask of you. You just develop this social skill, this social muscle, right? If you have to start traveling for meetings, I started doing that, started leaving, going outside of Houston, going to Dallas and Austin, and even outside of the country. I've gone to Belize for real estate meetings just to get around people. And again, with technology, you can get on, Zooms where there's like meetings and things like that where you can interact, but you just have to get social, This is the best way to vet. There's other things too. You can talk to other community members, and that happens by getting in the spaces. You can get some feedback about, what do you think about this, operator or this guru, right? You want to vet them. You want to hear them talk. You want to, find their content on social media, on YouTube, and kind of hear how they're talking. Is it genuine, or does it sound just a little off to you? If you can, you want to do one-on-ones with them. So every operator I invested with, I wanted to either shake their hand, look them in the eye, or go through several meetings just to ask them questions and get to know them. you know.
Mm.
Very good. Yeah.
Where do you see doctors that are investing in CRE? Where do you see that going in the next 5 to 10 years?
I honestly see it increasing. How much it increases, I don't know. I hope it increases to the majority of us so that we all get that time, financial freedom. But it's a matter of the fact that the corporate model is continuously getting worse, and I don't
Mm,
see that reversing. So this
mm,
pressure on one side of the equation is just going to push physicians to figure out solutions. We are problem solvers. And so I've noticed since I started 7 years ago that there's more physicians in this space. I actually recruit and try to teach other physicians not only to be LPs, investors, but to be co-general partners and be operators. You know, we have coaching programs that we're developing for that. We have one in a pilot program right now. And we have 2 physician students that we just share our experience and try to coach them up on how to do it. So I think it's going to increase. I think there's a appetite, you know, to solve these financial and job satisfaction problems.
Okay. Let me I got a 2-part for you here, and it's on something you just mentioned. One, how do you truly educate? I don't want to say convince, because you can't truly convince someone, right? If they're not into something, right? You can educate them, and eventually they can see, but right. So perhaps that is convince. I don't know. But how do you convince someone who isn't really used to this, right? So they like you began, they might know about stocks, right? Because it's common. They might know about even single family investing, right? But as far as this path of investing, they don't know. How do you truly demystify that for that person? And second part is as far as your coaching program, can you tell us a little bit more about that and how you potentially bring people in and educate them as well?
For sure. The way I think about it is it's not necessarily for everyone. So it's not for me to try to pull everyone across the line.
Gotcha.
And different people are also going to kind of make that jump at different seasons in their life. So it may not be for a person, but that could be just now, maybe 10 years, they kind of, understand more. I think what we have control over more of, what I have more control of is just putting information out there and creating spaces for the conversations to happen. Okay. If it resonates, if it's that time in that person's life, if it's in that season, then it'll resonate. And then it's really not a sell job. It's not, there's no need to force anyone, So I approach it like that, just continuously put out the information and allow for spaces for the conversations to happen. One day they may listen to it more than they did the day before, and they start asking questions and getting curious, and then it takes care of itself, honestly.
Yeah.
Crazy how that goes back to that whole patience and just taking it slow.
And then remind me the second one.
So the second question was more about your coaching program that you say you got a pilot in right now. So I want to hear a little bit more about that and how you putting it together. Because like I said, I know that quote unquote convincing people or bringing people in to give that sort of message isn't always easy. So
right. So I think this is just a natural progression of what we've already done, both with my company, Time Health Capital, and then my close partner on the last few syndications, Bio Fasanya. He's another physician out of Arkansas.
Okay.
We've been hosting bi-weekly webinars for about a year now, where we bring on different hosts or different guests to speak. So we've already kind of been, going down this education avenue. And, on these webinars, we also chime in and give our experience to help give color to the whole webinar. And we've started community chats on WhatsApp and on social media where we're helping lead the discussion, not necessarily touting ourselves as experts, but at least just leading the discussion. And then what we've realized through that is that just everyone's just at different levels. And if someone's just brand new, you have value to give them, even though you're not a 20-year expert veteran, you still have that value to give them. And so we just got the sense that there was, interest and demand. People would ask for coaching. And so we kicked around the idea for a few months, and then we said, hey, let's just start and see what happens. We even looked into, getting coached on coaching. There's consultants out there to kind of help, really set things up. And a lot of the feedback we got was just, look, get started, just start telling your story, get on a call and just sharing kind of your experience. You don't necessarily have to have it all structured out. We have big grand ideas, all right, mastermind and,
going back to Belize and
right. Yeah. Let's
trip
do
to Ghana and Nigeria.
event. Right. And it was just like, you don't need to just start, press the record button and just start telling your experience and go from there. And so that's what started the idea for the pilot. We're in week 6 right now, and it's for LPs, for physicians who are interested in becoming LPs, because we can speak from that platform. My colleague, he's also a operator. He's actually more of a operator than he was an LP. He only did a few LP deals. And so we're in the future, we're going to create a, operator GP course as well, because there's a lot of interest in them, maybe even more than LPs. There's a lot of physicians who want to get on the GP side.
It makes sense, right? Especially when you have a busy lifestyle, right? And like you said, the LP might be for some, the GP is definitely not for everyone. So it's a lot of work.
That is a job.
Yeah.
So for sure.
Yeah. Listen, I know we sort of getting close to time. So let me ask you, as far as your business, that is syndication business, where are you guys now, and what are you looking to do in the next, say, 5 years?
Yes, absolutely. So 3 deals in, different partners for each one. What I look to do is leverage the relationships I've developed over the 25 LP deals I've done, figure out which of the operators within those groups and maybe a few others outside who I want to continue to do work with. I want a small, efficient, very surgical group, where I continuously do deals with and come on to their teams and partner together, help them with education, investor relations, loan guarantees, bringing in a good size of capital from other pooled capital from physicians, and get into these deals and generate wealth for folks. I see in the next 5 years, just, really, growing the investor base to 100, 150 physicians. But then honestly, I'm even more excited about growing a group of physicians to grow their own investor base. That is what I'm really excited about, creating these coaching programs where other folks can just do what we're doing, and reaching out to other physicians and growing their communities. I think that's the most efficient way. Yeah. So that's kind of where I see things going, just growing the community in more ways than one, just finding, additional ways to give value. I want to continue investing in real assets. So it's going to be mostly multifamily, but other things that people will always need. So energy, oil and gas investments are very, very popular amongst W-2 high income earners, and most physicians now are W-2. Farmland I've invested in as well. And of course, medical office building. I think it just makes sense for a lot of healthcare providers to start investing, getting equity in their own places of business, so.
When you were first starting off, is this what was on the radar? Could you even imagine becoming a passive investor, active investor now on the equity side?
I thought all I was going to do was fix knees, hips, and shoulders, and that's it. I despised money. I thought it was just kind of all these terrible things with it. I had a negative mindset about it. I understood that physicians made quote unquote good money, and they, did good things and earned their compensation. So I really thought that's all I needed. I thought, I would just do that for the rest of my career. And so, no, I did not think. I'm glad I've made this evolution, but I did not foresee this at all.
Yeah. Too cool, man.
For sure.
Well, unless DB, you got something else, we'll.
No, I'm good. The doc is giving us everything we need to know. But yeah, definitely. Before we even jump on that, can you tell us about your platform so that we can put in a link, make sure people get to see it, and definitely go and educate themselves. Yeah.
Absolutely. So my websites are timehealthcapital.com. That's my syndication company. And then my practice is movementorthopedic.com. I'm most active on LinkedIn, but I am on all social medias, as both my businesses as well as my own personal platforms. So LinkedIn, and then email, you can reach me at george@timehealthcapital.com.
Gotcha. Right. And of course, obviously, we'll drop all that any details there. So yeah, go on, Jerome. I know you got that one question.
Great report. Obviously, this is the Take Ownership, the top Take Ownership podcast. Dr. Ozoude, could be personal, could be professional, anything. What do you take ownership of?
I take ownership of my education. You know, no one else is really gonna press that curiosity button in you for you. And I just take ownership of learning as much as I can, just staying curious, staying open-minded. I feel like that is just, you know, an amazing thing to do for yourself. Is to always be learning, you know.
Yeah. All right, man, folks. Thanks for joining us again. Dr. Ozoude, I really appreciate you jumping through. Hopefully this won't be the last time. Really enjoy you. So hopefully next time we bring you about and talk a little bit more.
Give you an update for sure.
Yeah.
Thank you guys.
Appreciate you.
What you're doing, like I said, and good luck to you guys, and definitely we'll stay in touch.
For sure.
For sure.